SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Way past 21. Good morning. Welcome. Happy Thursday. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Hopefully we are deep enough into the week now that finally you have figured out what day it is. If not, the good news is tomorrow will be Friday. It's only going to feel like Thursday, and you're going to be like, hey, the weekend's already here. Thanks for joining us alongside Lance Talbert. I'm Richard Cross. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line. The number is 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. C Spire knows how fast life moves, and they are there to move with you. With high-speed fiber-to-the-home internet, great business IT services, and nationwide 5G coverage on your phone. To learn more, visit cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. Lance, good morning.
Good morning. It is Thursday, right?
It is Thursday, yes. Today is the 4th of September.
We're knee-deep into September now. I mean, it was just August, It felt like now. September's going to be behind us before you know it.
Which means it's almost time to start shopping for Christmas presents. Before long.
Don't do it, man. Don't.
Dude, we're a week and a half into pumpkin spice latte season at Starbucks.
I'm so happy that I drink community coffee from the pot here and Starbucks at the house because I'm not a pumpkin spice person. I don't know about you.
I thought you were a Sanka man. Didn't we go through this not too long ago?
I was kidding, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Sanka. The Sanka's a throwback.
I mean, in a pinch.
It's if you got to do it, it's there for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But no, I haven't had Sanka in, was that decaf coffee? Yeah. I'm not doing that. That's like a non-alcoholic beer,
Yeah. I had a buddy that kind of big on those.
They say they're good. I mean, everybody's come out with their own version.
The Heineken Zero?
I guess, yeah.
Can you still buy that in Pearl?
I have no idea.
Okay, because there's some restrictions on what you can buy there. We'll get to that later. Going to be pretty nice today. If you thought that we were going to be highs in the 70s in perpetuity, a little bit disappointed. Oxford today, sunny. Few afternoon clouds, high of 92. Winds out of the west and southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Starkville, except for a few afternoon clouds, mainly sunny for you today with a high around 90. Hattiesburg, sunny, cloudy, a little bit. A few clouds floating in and out. 93 degrees. Past Christian, you got sunshine and some clouds today. Beautiful day in coastal Mississippi. 87 degrees, winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. 87 with a breeze on the coast.
Ooh. We saw
in September.
Saw that beautiful sunrise yesterday. I think it was Ray that sent it to us across the bridge. Yeah, it just looks comfortable. It looks like you want to hang out outside.
Yeah.
Have your coffee, your beignet early in the morning, or watch the sun go down late. It looked beautiful. And 87, I mean, that's just about right.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I could take it at 82, 83. Yeah, 87, I'm not complaining.
A little toasty working in the yard this weekend, or yesterday. There is an event that is happening at our house this weekend, and I'm going to be gone tomorrow and Saturday. And so I was trying to get as much of the prep work done in the yard as I could before my wife hosts a picnic on Sunday. And so, yeah, a lot of time in the yard yesterday. Quite proud of how it looked, though, when it was all said and done.
Well, it was what it's all about. You can stand back when the dust settles and you sweaty, and you go, yeah, man, that looks good.
It does.
I grew up with a dad that's like that. Like if you drove your car into the driveway and it had a speck of dust, he immediately broke out the car wash equipment. If you pulled up and you said, Dad, man, have you not mowed in the last couple of days? He would immediately go get the mower. He hates a blade of grass out of the way, or if there's a piece of pine straw. I mean, it's mental disability. He just can't stand it, you know. So I know how you feel. I grew up, you know, being the guy that was always required to stand there and watch as a kid.
I think I told you not too long ago, we've got these this holly hedgerow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taller than I am. It's probably, I don't know, 7 feet tall. And it's great, and it's thick, and I tried to kind of let it grow earlier this year, and I finally trimmed it, like a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it's been a month ago. And the hardest part's up top, right?
Yeah.
So I've got one of those hedge trimmers that's on a pole, and, you know.
Oh, that'll give you a good shoulder workout.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Stuff. Especially when you do it from a ladder 6 feet up.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're trying to get it somewhat even across the top.
Yeah.
And so that's a job. And like I said, a few weeks ago, I did it. And, man, I looked the other day, and it's like I had sprouts and sprigs in every direction. I'm like, I got to do this again?
Yeah. My dad has about a 50-yard hedgerow like that. And after a couple weeks, he'll go, I need you to come over and take care of the hedge.
Yeah.
But he's done it lately.
Right,
now that he's gotten a little, you know, he's had chemo and leukemia, but he's really responded. So he's gotten where he can kind of do things again. And so I don't get the call as much now, like, hey, man, the hedgerow. But we did get the very nice steel edge. I mean, the hedge trimmer with the extended pole and the and the telescopic head that moves in different angles. Man, that made a big difference.
Those things are great. They're great.
Don't have to get on the ladder anymore to do it. So.
Although I will tell you, man, the ease of operating that bad boy without the middle pole extension.
Yeah.
Like where if you just have the single arm, so you've got like it looks like a weed eater motor, and if you've got the combo kit. And you just take the 18-inch extension that's got the hedge trimmer on the end of it, and you lock that in. I mean, it can get heavy after a little while, but it's manageable.
Yeah. Well, we went with
you put that extension pole in the middle where you can really get that thing out there, brother.
You're going to need to go to the masseuse.
You're going to need some help. Paul Harvey was born on this day in 1918, American news commentator and radio broadcaster, born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know him for the rest of the story. More coming up on Paul Harvey in just a few minutes. John McCarthy was born in 1927, an American computer scientist. I only mention him because apparently he is the person that coined the term artificial intelligence, created the Lisp programming language, born in Boston, Massachusetts. Couple of golfers on the birthday list. 83-year-old Ray Floyd, who just seemed like such a cool guy. Born in 1942, won the Masters in 76, PGA champion in 62 and 89, U.S. Open championship in 1986. So he got 3 of the 4. 4 major titles on the senior tour as well. Born in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Tom Watson, 76 years old. He was born in 1940. An 8-time major champion, including 5 wins at the British Open. 1975, 77, 80, 82, 83, and then nearly did it again about 10 years ago. Oh, what a performance. Tom Watson, born in Kansas City. You know who Mark Ronson is? You do, Lance. You just don't realize it.
I probably do.
Record producer, songwriter, and DJ, born in London in 1975. You familiar with the ditty Uptown Funk?
I have to look it up.
You are.
I'm sure I am. I just don't know the name of it. The name doesn't ring a bell. Here, let's look at that baby.
You want to hit play on Uptown Funk, and everybody will immediately recognize it. If you got it ready. I'll give you one more birthday, or maybe 2 while you're doing that. Wes Bentley, 47 years old today. I just recognize the name. Jamie Dutton, from Yellowstone. He was born in 1978 in Jonesboro, Arkansas. First got his shot at fame in American Beauty. The riches and success of that did not go well as he became a drug addict and alcoholic. Kind of got it together, or seems to have. Was in Hunger Games as well, and most recently Yellowstone. Beyonce, 44 today. 1981, pop and R&B singer, producer, actress. Destiny's Child's where it all got started. Jay-Z's wife, power couple, born in Houston. Cowboy Carter, the whole deal. Beyonce. Did you figure out Uptown Funk?
Oh, yeah, I got it over here ready to go when we come back in.
Up.
And don't forget Richard Wright, great Mississippi author, born around Natchez, Mississippi, 1908. Black Boy and Native Son, great books.
There you go. We'll give you some things that happened on this day in history. We got news headlines. We got sports headlines. We got a lottery update. Are you still got a fighting chance, or did somebody win it all last night? We'll tell you in just a bit. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
This is that ice cold Michelle fight for that white gold. This one for them hood girls, them good girls, straight masterpiece.
Good morning. I don't know how far we can go in that. Did you test it?
I looked at the lyrics,
Okay.
yeah, so
right.
that's why I didn't want to play it earlier. I'm like,
Yeah, there you go. Mark Ronson's birthday today.
And that has Bruno Mars with it, too. So
That is correct. That is correct. Are you, have you seen the latest video?
I heard you laughing.
AI. You're not going to be able to see it, so I understand this has a limited of effectiveness on the radio, but I'm going to try to describe it to you, and it got me. It got me. All right, so we're going Chariots of Fire music. This is AI generated. Chris Christie and J.B. Pritzker sumo wrestling.
Oh, man.
I mean, full
Work of
on.
art.
So, right, this just came from some random corner of the internet, right? Right? No.
Got to be Donald Trump's account.
Truth Social, real Donald Trump.
I love it. He's got some Lane Kiffin in him. You know?
I watched that and I just started going, oh no. Oh no. And look, Lance, I mean, what? Let's see here. 4, 8, 9. I mean, 6.5, 7 years ago, if I'd seen that, I'd have been like, oh, come on. Come on, Mr. President. Let's have some dignity. And I don't know if we're just numb to it or it's just outright funny. Got a better sense of humor.
Well, I mean, you know.
Maybe it's Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, exactly. I think he started it. You got to blame Lane. But on the other side, too, with all this junk that is now out, all the AI and all the different animators, I mean, you know the president's sitting there using it. I mean, he's got to be going, God, some of these trolls, I'm going to get them back.
And it's just downright funny.
And it's great.
Chariots of Fire.
Could have been a better music, to start it with.
This should have been your walkout song, Lance.
I wish I'd have had like
Dun, dun.
a hologram with me with those two wrestling next to me. Yeah, that would be great.
1882, in its first large-scale test, Thomas Edison's light bulb is used to light up New York's Pearl Street station right there on Wall Street. Can you imagine what a scene that might have been?
Oh, amazing.
The invention of the light bulb, and all of a sudden, like, hey, y'all, check this out.
And then they go, let's see how we can make money off of it.
And then it's Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation popping the two extension cords together on Wall Street. Hallelujah. Wall Street is lit up. This day in 1886, Geronimo surrendered. Apache chief Geronimo ending the last major U.S. Indian War. I read the name Geronimo, and I immediately thought of the late Mike Leach. What a coach.
Oh, what a guy.
I mean, just so fascinated with that. That's like to me, that's the lasting football coach and all that good stuff. I get it. What a genuinely curious person, a man who was curious about the world around him. And so he would talk about dinosaurs, and he would talk about candy, and he would talk about Cuba, and he would talk about Geronimo and all of these other things. And just genuinely curious guy. My favorite interview I ever did with Mike Leach. It was in the afternoon show. And I asked him a question. He had traveled so extensively. And Lance, I said, Coach, you ever been to Cuba? And I was done. And he just took it from there.
Yeah, that's all you had to do was set
Ernest
it up, right?
Hemingway, Jimmy Buffett, books, travel, embargoes, cigar. Like it just weaved in and out and in and out. And it was wind him up and let him go. It was fantastic.
His interviews were great. His interviews were great too, though. You know, just the way he could command the room, even if you weren't talking about football. That was one of the great powers he had. Yeah. He wasn't just a great football coach and a brilliant man, but he was a storyteller, and he enjoyed that.
Yeah,
and you embrace it. Either you're good at it and you love it, or you don't. And he just that was part of his personality.
On this day in 1888. George Eastman patented the first roll film camera and registered the brand name Kodak. You know, there's one event that is more significant than any other that happened on this particular day in history. I'm not going to tell you what year. My mother-in-law was born. It's significant to me, Lance. Maybe not significant to everybody else, but my wife, my kids, family, all that good stuff doesn't happen if my mother-in-law, Shirley, is not born on this day.
Well, you know, and
happy birthday, Shirley.
Mother-in-laws get the brunt end of the bad jokes, right? They always do because.
Oh no, man! I hit the in-law Powerball. Like I may not win the $1.7 billion on Saturday night, but I hit the in-laws Powerball, bar none, greatest ever. Big winner. No mother-in-law jokes from me.
None, huh?
Absolutely not. Kindest, most loving, most selfless woman ever been around. Outside my own mother, of course, who also has a birthday coming up in a few days. But just outstanding. This day in 1957, the governor of Arkansas, Orville Faubus, called out the National Guard to prevent 9 black students from entering Little Rock Central High School. 1972, and the U.S. 4x100 medley relay team of Mike Stamm, Tom Bruce, Mark Spitz, and Jerry Heidenreich. Mark Spitz won his 7th gold medal at the Munich Olympics. Became the first athlete to win 7 Olympic golds in a single game. That record stood until the 2008 Beijing Games when Michael Phelps left viewers in all. He set a record of 8 gold medals, one in every event in which he took part. That is currently the record. 1998, Google is formally incorporated by a couple of guys named Larry and Sergey. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, 2 students at Stanford University, had an idea, decided to run with it, started a company. They are currently the world's 5th and 6th richest people with a combined net worth as of yesterday of over $370 billion.
When you're the 5th and 6th richest person in the world, do you think that there's a little competition between the two still, or do you believe maybe they've just arrived and they've accepted their point where they are?
Yeah, I think their stake in Google is identical. I think it has to do with other investments that they've been part of. And Sergey's got a little bit more money than Larry. Mm-hmm. But it may have just been Larry decided to, sit one around investing on, it's like, hey, I'm really not interested in Facebook. You go do that. And it's got, an extra $20 billion for Sergey or whatever. But yeah, maybe so. Those are probably the two quietest behind the scenes Meiji CEOs.
You don't hear anything about them hardly ever. To be that wealthy.
2002, Kelly Clarkson crowned the winner of the first season of American Idol. September 4th, 2006. Man, this took me down a rabbit hole last night, more like an alligator hole. 2006, globally popular Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, the Australian wildlife expert and conservationist, was killed when he was attacked by a stingray while filming in the Great Barrier Reef. So I pulled up a Steve Irwin video last night, and it's a video where he is wanting to swim in the Florida Everglades with alligators. And in pursuit of swimming for alligators, he goes off while going off to look for alligators, he first comes upon a cottonmouth. And you can hear the voice off the side go, uh-oh, he's distracted. And then he goes into, he's got to go catch the cottonmouth and hold it by the tail and show me the scales and blah, blah, blah. Then he's walking along to look for the alligator, and what happens? He sees what appears to be an alligator den. He's like, we got to go find out what's in there. And so he shoves a stick in. There's something hard in there. Clearly it's not something you want to run into underwater. So what does he do? He goes in and grabs it. He pulls it out, and it's a alligator snapping turtle.
Much braver than I am, that's for sure.
And then he finally finds an alligator he wants to swim with, but she's got a split lower jaw. And so he cradles her and hugs her on her and tells her it's going to be okay, and she's healthy, and 5 or 6 years now she'll be fortunate enough to have babies of her own, and then he just releases her. What a guy. Swimming with alligators, pulling alligator snapping turtles out of holes underwater in the Everglades, and it's a stingray that got him.
Well, he died doing what he loved, though.
Heck, I've swam with stingrays. Oh, man. That stinger got right in the heart. All right, we'll combine some news and sports headlines coming up with you. MRC on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Walks down the street, he says, why am I short of attention? Got a short little span of attention, and oh, my nights are so long. Where's my wife and family? What if I die here? Who'll be my role model? Now that my role model is gone. He ducked back down the alley with some roly-poly little bat-faced girl. All along, there were incidents and accidents.
Unquestioned.
Hints and allegations. If you'll be my bodyguard, I can be your...
I'll just call you Al. What do you say? Mornings with Richard Cross. We're having more fun than we're supposed to at 6:38 in the morning. Glad to be with you. Thanks for starting part of your day with us, or I guess starting your actual day with us. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. The C Spire text line is open. Best way for you to communicate with us. Like something we're doing, let us know. Don't like something we're doing?
Yeah, just let Richard know on that.
I guess you can let us know on that, too, if you really want to. Just want to engage in the conversation? Great. Let's do it. C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Ready for your winning strategy? Here it is. Join C Spire. All the technology and sport you need to succeed at home, at work, and everywhere else. cspire.com. That's the website, C Spire, inspired by you. I'm all over the place this morning. I got so many news headlines and so many sports headlines, and I just got other stuff I want to do that I think will be more entertaining right this second. We're going to get to plenty. Starla Brown going to stop by this morning, and who else we got? We got Starla Brown from
we got the good doctor.
AFP, and also Katherine Pannel going to join us a little bit later this morning. This should have gone in birthdays, but I decided I was going to save it for a sports headline. Our sports headlines are brought to you. It's not really a headline. Sports headlines every morning are brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort, the home of the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, 2 18-hole championship courses, the Oaks and the Azaleas. Book your tee time online at dancingrabbitgolf.com. Dancing Rabbit, part of Pearl River Resort. C-Spire text line, good morning, Lance. Where does Richard call the game this weekend? Please tell me that I will be in Little Rock, Arkansas on Saturday, 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon, ESPN Plus, SEC Network Plus. Arkansas and Arkansas State playing each other for the first time ever.
I would say that doesn't happen often, so it's ever, huh?
For never.
Wow.
On this day in 1918, Paul Harvey was born. He passed away in 2009, the conservative news commentator and radio broadcaster. You know him for the rest of the story. For the ABC radio networks, and whose program reached as many as 24 million people a week. He was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I went down a YouTube rabbit hole with Paul Harvey last night, and I just want to share this with you. It's 3 minutes long, but I think it is worth your listen. Perhaps it will take you down memory lane.
Unquestionably, it was the fight of the century. Yet it was only the first of many to come. The World Series of 1903. That was the first World Series in baseball history. A contest between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Boston Red Sox. And you know what? For the first game in that historic first-ever battle between the National League and the American League, the Red Sox manager sent to the pitcher's mound, of all people, Denton Tecumseh. And the record book now confirms that he was the losingest pitcher of all time. Why Boston decided to start him against Pittsburgh, well, that's something as significant as the World Series itself. You see, Denton Tecumseh's theory of baseball pitching was that a pitcher should let a batter hit the ball as often as possible. That way, Denton said, your arm won't get so tired. And it seemed in the first game of that first series, Denton's theory was working out, sort of. Pittsburgh's first 2 batters did get some wood on the ball. They did go down in order, but then almost literally the game was over. Because that second out was followed by a Pittsburgh triple, a single, a stolen base, an error, a double steal resulting in a run, and the score after 1 inning was Pirates 4 and Red Sox zip. You got to hold him, Denton was told as he went to the mound in the top of the second, and he did his best. The first batter was Pittsburgh's Beaumont. Denton actually struck him out. Next batter, Clark, hit a single to right. But he got overconfident, tried to stretch it to a double. He was thrown out, 2 down. The third batter, Leach, flied out to right. So it appeared that Denton Tecumseh had turned things around. But then in the third inning, Pittsburgh's Bransfield blasted a triple off him. Then Sebring single to right, scoring Bransfield. Now it's 5-0. The Boston pitcher's peril continued in the 7th, an RBI, and then a home run. Now the Red Sox were done. Oh, they did manage to squeeze out a couple of runs in their half of the 7th and 1 more in the bottom of the 9th. And yet the defeat of the Boston team at the hands of a supposedly inferior National League club, the defeat, the ignominious defeat, was charged to Denton Tecumseh, who was to lose more games on Major League mounds than any other player in baseball history. If you forget everything else I say about Denton Tecumseh today, I want you to remember 2 things. First, he was the losingest pitcher in all Major League history. But then I want you to remember one thing more. Today's visit's going to give you a new perspective. When later this season, awards bearing his name will be passed out to the best pitchers in baseball. You see, not only did Denton lose more games than any other pitcher in history, a total of 313, he won more games as well, 511 of them. And it's this latter record for which the sports world hails him, a hurler who was actually 2 in 1, a hero and a bum, Denton Tecumseh Young, whom you know as Cy Young. And this year, when the Cy Young awards are passed out to the best of the pitchers, you'll know the rest of the story.
The great Paul Harvey.
the man. What a great story, too.
Somebody said Richard the Farmer. Yes, the poem that he wrote that was rekindled for a Super Bowl ad a few years ago. I listened to that one, too, last night. I just decided that I would go with one of his more traditional The Rest of the Story clips.
You know where the rest of the story came from? In 1945, after being dismissed on a medical discharge after World War II, he jumped in Chicago where he was working for the, I think it was the ABC affiliate, and he started doing a program called Jobs for G.I. Joe. It was a post-war employment program.
Yeah.
And that's where he actually created the rest of the story. It was a tagline, and eventually he created much more of a feature. But one of the things that was really cool about his early years was he was real big on lax security, especially at Argonne National Laboratory, and he jumped the fence there to prove a point. He ended up getting caught, and as an act of participatory journalism, as he would say. And Harvey's escapade promoted the U.S. Attorney for Illinois to actually impanel a grand jury to consider espionage against Paul. He went on to say that he was being set up and all that, and the grand jury subsequently threw it out and decided not to indict him. But that's kind of how he got his start. And then he went pretty much national not far after that. But what an amazing guy.
And what an amazing voice.
Yes, teacher at like 14 told him, I think you got a good voice. You may want to go into that field. He was like 14 years old, so he immediately goes over to the radio station and starts cleaning up and learning how to twist some knobs, and eventually they threw him into some commercials, and that's how he got his start.
Florida State freshman linebacker Ethan Pritchard was shot in the back of the head on Sunday night. According to his father, he remains in stable condition at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. Earl Pritchard, father of Ethan Pritchard, told a TV station in Orlando that he was shot while driving his aunt home from a family gathering in Havana, Florida, which is about 16 miles from Tallahassee near the Georgia state line. Pritchard said he was actually in the car taking my sister around the corner to her daughter's house to drop her off. They turned the corner, and as soon as they turned the corner, they heard gunshots. An investigation into the shooting by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Gadsden County Sheriff's Office is ongoing. The L.A. Clippers and team owner Steve Ballmer, one of the richest men in the world, have been accused of circumventing the NBA's salary cap by paying $28 million to Kawhi Leonard for a no-show job. Pablo Torre, a podcaster and former ESPN contributor, reported on Wednesday that the Clippers paid Leonard through a now bankrupt company that was owned by Ballmer. NBA spokesman Mike Bass said in a statement late yesterday that the league was aware of this morning's media report regarding the LA Clippers and is commencing an investigation. In the latest episode of his Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast, Torre cited a trove of internal documents from the company Aspiration, which Ballmer partially funded with a $50 million investment through his personal LLC. The Clippers, in a statement, said neither Mr. Ballmer nor the Clippers circumvented the salary cap or engaged in any misconduct related to Aspiration. Any contrary assertion is provably false. The team ended its relationship with Aspiration years ago. Neither the Clippers nor Mr. Ballmer was aware of any improper activity by Aspiration or its co-founder until the government instituted its investigation. The team and Mr. Ballmer stand ready to assist law enforcement in any way they can. Under the circumvention rules of the NBA's 2023 collective bargaining agreement, teams can be punished for circumventing the salary cap with fines up to $7.5 million, direct forfeiture of draft picks, voiding any player contract, and a suspension up to a year for any team personnel found to have engaged in such a violation. This weekend, you've got the return of Riverside Rumble. That's the annual meeting between Division III, Millsaps, and Bellhaven. Tell you more about that later this morning. We're back after this.
From the Venable Glass Truck.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
With no top prize winner in last night's drawing, the Powerball jackpot is now an estimated $1.7 billion with an estimated cash value of $770,300,000, the third largest American lottery jackpot of all time. And truth be told, that $1.7 billion is likely to grow larger, like it did yesterday. It was originally scheduled to be a $1.3 billion drawing, turned into 1.4, or maybe it was 1.1 and it ended up at 1.4. Anyway, it grew between what it was estimated to be and what it turned out to be. The historic jackpot is capturing attention nationwide. Mississippi players have a chance to be part of the excitement. Don't miss out. Grab your tickets for the Saturday, September 6th drawing at your nearest lottery retailer. Powerball tickets cost just $2 with the option to add the $1 power play to multiply prizes and the $1 double play for your numbers to have another shot at a second drawing. I did not win yesterday, but neither did anybody else.
There are a lot of people buying, man. I had to stop in the gas station 2 or 3 times, different ones, and everybody's like, go to the Powerball. What are you thinking? So it was, you can see why it moves up so quickly.
Ooh. It really does. From where it starts out at $20 million for the jackpot, and then it starts jumping. A couple of winners to tell you about. An It Takes Two scratch-off winner, a Wiggins woman, won $20,000 on a ticket from Keith's Superstore in Wiggins. Columbus man on a cash pop ticket won $2,000 on a pair of tickets from Airbase Texaco in Columbus. Fort Washington, Maryland man, thanks for traveling through, won $5,200 on 2 tickets from Kroger in Horn Lake. That was on a cash for as well. That's your Mississippi lottery update, mslottery.com. By the way, if you don't want to wait until Saturday night, on Friday night, you can take part in the Mega Millions jackpot. It's up to $336 million. Mentioned that game between Millsaps and Belhaven. That's Division III football. One road, Riverside Drive, divides the two schools in a shared neighborhood footprint. The annual Riverside Rumble is a rivalry that couldn't be much close in distance or record. Kickoff tonight is at 7 o'clock. Free to get in, but here's what you need to know before you go. Millsaps has an extensive history. This is their 105th season. The Majors started fielding a team in 1920. Belhaven, much younger. They started their football program in 1997. The overall record between the two, 14 previous meetings, 8-6. Belhaven with the lead. They've won 3 of the last 4 contests dating back to 2021. But last year it was Millsaps that came out on top, 24-21. Both teams have had success at times. Belhaven advancing to the D3 playoff under now Northwestern State head coach Blaine McCorkle a couple of years ago. Millsaps has been in the playoff bracket 3 different times, 1975, 2006, and most recently in 2008. Lance, you ought to go check that out tonight. Little Millsaps and Belhaven.
I know exactly where it is, man. It's both are great little schools, too. Riverside, if you haven't been down it lately, it is brand new. I know it's a grand improvement over what you had. So I think this may be the first game with the new improved Riverside Drive coming into the stadium. So ought to be a lot of fun, and I may make it to that one.
Kevin tells me he's got tickets to the Arkansas game this weekend, so maybe we'll see you there. Said I'm taking my new F-150. It's red, so it should fit right in. Yeah, with Arkansas and Arkansas State there,
it'll be fine.
You should be good to go. Good memories of my dad working the telecom. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I got to read that message before. That's something Hey Dad used to get on to me in the afternoon. He's like, you got to read the text before you read the text, Richard. Herschel says, thank you for the Paul Harvey clip. That was great. Yeah, Thomas Harvey says, hey, Richard, you going to have anybody from the Mississippi Department of Revenue as a follow-up to Dan Eubanks' interview yesterday? Here's the truth, Thomas. We've asked, and we are asking. In fact, I specifically asked Alex if, we could get the head of DOR on. In the past, that answer has been no. Not just for me, but also previously when Paul was hosting this show. But we are asking again. We need answers on the property tax question. Because I'm telling you, like, something stinks about this. I understand that the code has been on the books for a long time. But why all of a sudden have tax collectors, tax assessors across the state of Mississippi been told you've got to get to the 85% threshold with the goal of getting to 100% of real property value for the purpose of collecting property tax? Why did it happen all of a sudden? And I am open to the idea, as I have been told, that it is purely coincidental that the legislature passed a major tax reform bill in the most recent session. The grocery tax going down, the gas tax going up, the income tax being phased out over the course of the next 13 years. And yet here we are with a reported tax increase. Now, Dan Eubanks pointed out yesterday, your local officials have the ability to not have that change much by adjusting the millage rates. But why did this mandate come down?
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR benefits and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, and more importantly, a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today. The number is 601-206-7966, or on the web at MWGEmployerServices.com. This afternoon on In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, you'll hear an interview with musician Irving Flores. In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, 1 o'clock this afternoon online as well at supertalk.fm. Fear your messages on the C Spire text line as it pertains to the question of likely increasing property taxes. Darren in Jackson says, my uncle retired as a homicide detective in Memphis, and he didn't believe in coincidences, and neither do I, concerning the property tax debacle. Brian in Jones County, our legislators are trying to make us think they're doing good things for us by cutting taxes. Same with the grocery tax, but the fuel tax goes up, so will groceries because of delivery costs. Property tax increase will make up for the income tax cut. Nothing gripes me more than property taxes. I'm 68 and still paying because we're taxed on property over $75,000. This should be increased. Can't build much for $75,000 anymore. Can't build a garage, not an enclosed one, for $75,000. Not big enough to put a couple of cars in it with a storage room. Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Yeah. That was the thing that was that went to the chopping block when we did some renovations to the house a year or so ago.
Like, nope, not doing that, huh?
Yep, going to have to, maybe sometime down the road, we'll be able to park our cars somewhere other than just the driveway. Look, I've talked to some legislators about this, and I genuinely believe that based on what the legislators know, whether we're talking House or Senate, that these two issues are not directly connected. But somebody knows where the order came from. And there was a quote in a story that Magnolia Tribune had that said there was no mandate from the DOR, the Department of Revenue. And I can't help but wonder, okay, is that one of those things where we call it one thing, but it's something else, or we don't call it one thing, but it's actually what it is, like we give it a different name so that we can say there's not a mandate? Because how else can you explain the fact that for a really long time, regardless of what the actual code or the actual rule was from the Department of Revenue to the counties about how they tax property, when it's been done one way for a really long time, and we are in a good place fiscally in the state of Mississippi. Don't know that that'll last forever. There certainly are changes, but as we sit here today, the state of Mississippi is in a good financial place. And then all of a sudden, a message goes out to all 82 tax assessors across the state of Mississippi and says, you got to get in line. You're supposed to be basing your property tax on 85% minimum of real appraised value. I'm sorry, not real appraised value, of real value, with a goal of getting to 100%. It's almost as if the Department of Revenue is saying, this is our money, and we're not collecting it, and that's going to change today. One of the things that Dan Eubanks said that I thought was really interesting yesterday was this is not something that is going to be phased in starting next year or over the next few years. This is retroactive to January 1 of this year. And so if you happen to be somebody that pays your taxes through escrow, and your escrow account is short of what you owe on property taxes, then you're either going to have to come up with the difference when you pay your property taxes in January or February or whenever you pay them next year, because you pay them a year in arrears, or it's going to take a year and you're going to get popped with your escrow going up, therefore your monthly house payment going up, when you got to pay like a year and a half's worth of taxes in a single swoop the following year. And if you don't pay your taxes through escrow, if you just go and you write a check to your local city and county tax assessor, you just do that once a year, well, that number is going to be bigger than you anticipated. And I just can't believe that we woke up one morning and somebody at DOR was like, you know, this is the year that we need to make a change. This is the year that this needs to be implemented. This is the year that, and it just happens to be the year immediately following, actually the same year as, going into effect the following year, that we get this major tax code rewrite from the legislature. From where did the directive come? Is it something they've been waiting for the right opportunity to roll in? Did somebody in the legislature say, hey, you need to do this? Did the governor say, hey, you need to do this? I don't think that would have come from Tate Reeves. I don't think. We need to know why. And look, I'm not saying to you that this is unfair. If it's the law, if it's the rule, if it's the code, then it's the law, it's the rule, it's the code. It's not something that is illegal. It's not something that is even nefarious. But if you have been enforcing, we'll call it a policy, if you've been enforcing that policy for one way for a really, really long time, and then you just wake up one morning and say, we're going to do it differently, I need to know why. And I need to know who said we're going to do it differently. C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Darren and Jackson, you really need to get someone at the decision-making level from the Department of Revenue on your program. I have asked. We are asking. We are going to continue to ask. So far, we have not gotten an affirmative on that. And it doesn't have to be a confrontational interview. We just want answers. I want answers. You deserve answers. Dan Eubanks gave us the story, but he didn't have the answers as to why or who. Bill in Brookhaven, somebody at DOR is shoveling some socialist bullcrap. SBC makes a return. Though it's not socialist. Why not increase property taxes following the tax cut reduction formula to offset the tax revenue? I said this yesterday. One of the things that Trey Lamar and others on the House side said over and over and over again is that tax on work was immoral.
So paying taxes on something you've already purchased 30 years ago is moral?
Let's just say that you actually own your home outright. Let's say you bought a house. I'll use your numbers, Lance, 30 years ago. So 1995. And you've been dutifully paying your taxes, and you even made an extra payment each year. And so you paid that 30-year mortgage off in 26 years. And it was hard, right? You saved and you scrapped, and that was a goal, and you got to it. Why are you continuing to have to pay tax? And, oh, by the way, did you see that Ron DeSantis yesterday said that the state of Florida is going to go with a question on the ballot? Floridians, do you want to eliminate the state property taxes? Your local property taxes. How do you think that vote's going to go? When the people at Florida get to go to the polls and they go, do I want less property tax? Yeah.
Especially
let's do that.
In a state that is full of retirees, that don't have the opportunity to go out and make more money.
What determines the real value of property? Well, it's going to be your local tax assessor or the person that they hire to go out and assess properties in your neighborhood, in your municipality. Talk to your tax assessor in Lafayette, Calhoun, Pontotoc, Union, Panola counties to see what they say as to a directive. I'm going to get there. Mose says the decision was most definitely made by a Democrat. How do I know this? Because you can't find out who it is. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to keep digging, though, I promise. Back with you after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you. It's Thursday morning, September 4th. Thanks for joining us on Mornings with Richard Cross. The C Spire text line is open to you, and you are taking advantage of it. 601-879-4395. It's the C Spire text line. C Spire, inspired by you. Get a bunch of your messages. We'll try to work these in. A lot of them questions related to this property tax conversation. But right now, we welcome in our first guest of the morning. Starla Brown is the state director in Mississippi for Americans for Prosperity. Starla, good morning to you.
Good morning. It's good to be on your show. I think this is the first time on your show where you're actually the host. So, so thanks for having me on today.
I appreciate you coming in. And there's a lot going on. Let's start high level for the people who perhaps don't know you, don't know about Americans for Prosperity. Big picture goals of AFP.
Well, our number one priority this year is education freedom. So we're placing that at the top of our legislative agenda. We'll be rolling out a new one sometime in late September, early October. There's some other pieces that we're looking at. Obviously, we continue to fight for certificate of need law repeals. We tend to take a very strong free market approach towards some of the solutions for healthcare. And you can go to thepersonaloption.com and find out more about what Americans for Prosperity stands for when it comes to healthcare solutions. We do a lot of work at the federal level, but obviously our state chapters work with the legislature here and in all 50 states to try to get good policy across the line that's going to improve the lives of the people of Mississippi. And, that's who we're out there representing day and night. And we are a grassroots organization. So activism and people who engage with us are an important piece of what we do.
What's the membership like in Mississippi?
When you say membership, what are you talking about? Like
in terms of how many people are kind of directly involved with AFP in Mississippi?
Okay. Well, I would say that there's hundreds of thousands of people. It depends on what type of engagement you're talking about, right? So, it's been pretty hot. It's a little harder to want people to want to go out and knock doors with us, which we do year round. Summers are always a little lax, but we're beefing that up this month, talking to people at the door about education policy actually, and working through two pieces of that, which we see as the open enrollment piece, which is sometimes called public to public school transfers, and then education savings accounts. But we also have digital activities. We have people who come to, as they did on the 25th, they came to the select committee hearing on education. So they meet with their legislators in their districts. We're working on appointments for some of that over the fall. So there's many ways people can engage. So I guess it depends
Sure.
how you add that up. But yeah, we're growing our grassroots, and then we have coalition partners, right, who also sort of 10X with us through their networks to support the same policy. So we believe in a partnership model.
Starla Brown is the state director of the Mississippi chapter of Americans for Prosperity, and you mentioned a second ago education freedom is certainly a big issue. We know it's going to be a big issue in the legislature this year. Speaker of the House Jason White has told us that. We know it's a priority for the governor as well. Maybe looking at the issue a little bit differently on the Senate side of things. So just to be completely clear. AFP, in terms of its stance on education freedom, what is it that you support? Is it universal school choice? Is it district-to-district transferring? Because there's so many layers to this school choice conversation.
Right. So it's all of it. I think our point of view has been pretty steady across our states. I mean, I guess for some states, they have certain pieces already in place. Like here in Mississippi, we actually have open enrollment, right? This public-to-public transfer. The issue is the sending school can veto that transfer. And so it's really fixing that problem is really the high priority there. Not a lot's going to change on the rest of it. But our point of view has really been the more opportunities and choices, because just like we believe in the classroom, one size doesn't fit every student for education. One size of opportunity for those types of choices doesn't fit every family.
And to me, the ultimate issue here is you're giving parents the tools to make the decision or decisions that is or are best for their kids. Because we recognize there's not a one-size-fits-all solution for kids. And from that perspective, I'm completely on board with everything related. But there's so many questions and so many, but how do you do this, and is this the right answer? So how do you wrestle with some of those questions?
Well, I think the biggest issue that I see, if you want to use the word wrestle, right, and sometimes it can feel that way on social media and other platforms when we're talking about this, is a lot of times people who oppose school choice are kind of have this sort of hair on fire mentality that, there's going to be 1,000 kids come running, across a county line to another school. And that hasn't been what traditionally has happened in other states, right? And so there are parameters around things like open enrollment. The accepting school still has to go through the process of, do we have capacity? Can we take the school? There are parameters around what type of children can transfer. If you're a child who's been maybe, kicked out of school 2 or 3 times, there may have to be a different type of option for you. So I think at the end of the day, what I wrestle with the most is the myths versus the facts. And right now, I would say the House and hopefully the Senate members that we've chatted with, we're trying to put everything out there on the table and take a look at all of the pieces. I know the chairman for the House Education Committee, Rob Robertson, was on SuperTalk yesterday, I believe, and he talked about the fact that he's actually going to have some people who oppose this type of thing come in, and let's hear their side of the story. I think if we could all just take a step back and really learn and really work through what is truth and what is a myth, I think it'd go a long way in all of us maybe getting to the best solution for our state. But for us, at the end of the day, we're going to put families first and parents making those decisions, because it really comes back down to that. And if that decision is a public school, that's great for that family. But if it's not, it might be, 3 or 4 kids go to public schools, 2 or 4 one goes somewhere else. One might have special needs. It just depends. So it's hard to say that we take this broad brush and just negate, any opportunities.
And to me, that's the biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? That's one of the biggest problems, is that with regard to this issue, it feels like everybody wants to paint with a broad brush. And it's like, okay, we'll put this in place and you can do what you want. You've got the freedom to go where you want, and, the money will follow or the money won't follow. But if you don't get off in the weeds, which is what the legislature is going to have to do to get to any sort of a resolution, then you could end up with a situation that is worse than we've got now. Is that crazy?
Well, I don't think that giving people an opportunity for an education that best fits the child, as a child's needs, is like the wrong way to go. I'm just not. That's not an opinion or even a fact. If we look through what's happening with kids that have had those opportunities and excelling in other states, and even in some programs here, we've seen that, right? Mm-hmm. So I think at the end of the day, do we have to get in the weeds? Do we have to talk about everything? Absolutely, we have to do that, because again, there's some sort of mindset I see frequently from the opposition that this is a mandate, like you have to participate in it. And that's not the case.
Sure.
So it's
an option.
Right.
It's a choice.
It's a choice, right? That's why it was school choice. And I know sometimes that has very, connotative meanings here in our state historically. But at the end of the day, it is a choice. No one is mandating that you or any other child have to leave your public school. And that, because that may be your choice.
Sure. You said a second ago that some of the opponents have this fear of thousands of kids getting up and fleeing to another county. And I think if we're using our brain, we know that those numbers are not realistic. But what are the real numbers? When you look at neighboring states who have put this opportunity into place, and I understand that Mississippi is unique, but we're also similar to Louisiana and to Arkansas. What have the real numbers been in terms of children leaving one school district and going to another?
Yeah, so in a lot of cases, especially in the open world cases, sometimes it's less than 10%. It depends, because some of the states are phasing in things, right? And so it's not universal yet all the way in some states, and that is a phase in. One of the options that we're looking at here is, how do we possibly phase this in here to see what happens? But there hasn't been it's states with larger populations when you see 10,000 students are taking advantage of an education savings account. Well, if you have 20 million people in your state, that's not a large number.
Small number.
Right.
Small number. On the other side of the break, 2 specific things that we will talk about. The money piece of this. Does the money follow the child? And then what do you do with existing students that are in private school? Do we have to start funding those at the same level? We'll get into that first when we come back. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us. Starla Brown is my guest.
from the sea, Mississippi.
Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Good morning, Mississippi. You're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Appreciate all your messages on the C Spire text line and appreciate the time of Starla Brown, State Director of the Mississippi Chapter of Americans for Prosperity. We're talking about things that are important to AFP, especially as we move toward this next legislative session. And right now the conversation centering around education freedom, school choice, if you prefer to call it that. Starla, I mentioned this before the break, and one of the things that I've been curious about in a universal choice situation where you've got children who are moving from a public school district to a private school, and if we're talking full universal choice where the money follows the student, the amount that is allocated for each child in a public school district is, number varies a little bit, but I think we're talking roughly $6,000 per student. If that child moves to a private school, then there's been discussion, okay, should the money follow that child to the private school? And regardless of where you fall on that, what I wonder about is, what about the kids in that private school that are already there? Do we change the funding model where those kids now have to be allocated $6,000 per student as well? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So their parents or the parents of the child transferring may or may not pay property taxes. I understand that that's something that comes up, and I know you were talking about it earlier. I don't have any kids in the public school system, but certainly there are taxes that I pay that go into, well, we all pay some sort of tax in the state, whether it's the grocery tax or the fuel tax or whatever it is that goes into general funds and then gets dispersed, right? There are different ways that some of those are allocated, but in that general fund, there's a portion of that each year that goes towards the state's portion of that child. And, I've seen the numbers of the average private school being $6,000, which by means of when I was living in Florida is quite a bargain, actually. So,
sure.
And is actually less dollars than is often what is appropriated for that baseline of what it takes to fund that child in the school. So I guess what I would say is, this argument about public monies, it is the taxpayers' dollars, and that is the point of view that we as an organization have. It is your tax money that you're paying in, and you having some control and some say-so in where those tax dollars are spent to educate your child. I don't see that as a horrible thing for a parent to be able to make that decision. And so the money following the child to the best possible education that best fits their unique needs. It's hard for me, and I think for a lot of people, to really argue the point, unless you believe the money is more important than the child. And that is often what I can garner from the other side of the argument is it's all about the money and not about the child.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree in principle with what you're saying, but I don't know if that answers the question either. So, I mean, if this money is portable with a child going from a public school to a private school, and you've got a private school that has an enrollment of 500 kids, those 500 kids are not currently being allocated money from the state. That money is going to kids that are in the public school district. So if we are bringing some dollars with students who are making a transition from public to private, what about the kids that are already in private school? Is the state going to be on the hook for whatever that dollar amount is that travels with the student that's transferring for the students that are already there?
Right. So if they participate in the program and the legislation is written that way, then yeah, there is. But if you think about the fact that their parents are paying in and not getting any return on their tax dollars for the current education, I realize like there's going to be some money that has to be spent here. I understand that piece, but at the same time, and I can use my own personal story for that. I went to both public school and private school. One of the reasons that we went to private school was because my brother had some unique needs, and I actually even wanted to try to go back to public school. I thought I was missing out on some extracurricular activities. Went there for a week, realized some things there didn't fit my value in the school that I was assigned to, and actually wound up going back to my private school and finishing there and doing a dual enrollment program at the end of it. But my father was paying taxes the entire time we were in this private school. And he paid them, he paid his property taxes, he paid his state taxes, he paid his federal taxes, whatever tax it was that gets appropriated here in Mississippi. But at the end of the day, he was still paying that tuition. And so while we had a unique situation, we couldn't use the tax dollars. And I learned that when I started 7th grade and transferred to a different school. And some of my friends went to a public school and they were saying, we don't have to pay this and we don't have to pay that.
Sure.
But I think, the argument is are the tax dollars, do they belong to the government or do they belong to the taxpayer for that investment? And so.
Well, but I would push back on the idea that there's no benefit to taxpayers if their child doesn't go to a public school, because good public schools are a driver for community success all across the state.
Yeah. Well, what if you're in a district where it's not exactly the best public school, right? So there's the other side of that argument. At the end of the day, and
please understand, I'm not against this idea.
Yeah.
I just this idea that we've just got to do this because it's what other states are doing and it's the time, and without answering some of the more important questions that I think are related to it. To me, that's not necessarily a prudent way to go about this either.
Well, and I think those are questions that are going to be answered as we continue through this process. There isn't a bill in place yet, and so there's still a lot of questions, a lot of testimony that's going to happen in these select committees, and then and then as we move through the process. So I think there's some sort of understanding there. But if I'm a parent and I'm paying the same taxes as a parent next door going to a public school, but the private school best fits my needs, right? It is the place that best fits my child's needs. I feel like there's sort of an argument here about who those tax dollars belong to, and I think that's what I hear the most.
What about district consolidation? That's another piece of this, and it's something that Rob Robertson mentioned yesterday. At last count, and I have not fact-checked or gone county by county to make sure this is accurate, 142 school districts in Mississippi. I think that was as of 23-24, so it may be off by one or two. We've only got 82 counties, and so there's this incredible amount of redundancy. We have seen places like DeSoto County where you've got massive student population, and yet there is one school district. And then I was just kind of pulling up the list a second ago, and this is not picking on them, but a place like Washington County that's got the Greenville Public School District, the Hollandale School District, the Leland School District, the Western Line School District. How does that make sense when we're trying to crunch the dollars as best we can?
Yeah, so I think compared to other states, I did just like this simple Google search, right, an AI type search through Google. And I compared, having lived in Florida for 35 years, I compared Florida to Mississippi. Population-wise, it's almost 10 times the population, close to that. And then the number of school districts compared to Mississippi, for Mississippi was almost double what you have in the state of Florida.
Sure.
And so I guess, look, I'm not opposed to consolidating districts. I think there's a lot of money to be saved for the state there. I think we have some counties where we have a school district in a small municipality. We're not talking about a sizable town. And then we also have a superintendent or school district in the county. So you have like two, in an area. And I guess I don't know, from the private business community, is that the best way you would manage things, right? And so I think there are some consolidations that make sense. I know there's one district in DeSoto, but there's more than one superintendent. When we look at a lot of the studies that are out and we talk about the monies, we have seen monies over the years catapult and go upward. There's a wonderful graph that's out there on a study at that sort of administrative level, but not reaching the classroom. So there's a disparity there, and where are the dollars better spent? I think our opinion would be in the classroom, right?
Oh, you've got to get the money to the students.
Right, exactly.
As much of it, obviously there are administrative costs that have to be in place to run a district and to pay teachers and principals and superintendents and all that stuff. But you've got to figure out how to get as much of the money as possible to the student.
Right. Well, there's a big disparity between a lot of those administrative roles and the salary compared to a teacher. And when we have a shortage like this, my question becomes, if we were to consolidate or if we were to streamline how we manage these schools, could that money be saved or invested more in teachers? Like there's a thought process there. What would we do with that extra money?
I hope we can continue this conversation soon. Certainly enjoy trying to unpack some of these issues as we move closer to a new legislative session where this is undoubtedly something we'll be discussing a lot. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Richard.
Starla Brown, State Director of Americans for Prosperity in Mississippi. We'll take a time out. We'll wrap up the 7 o'clock hour next. I will try to get to as many of your messages on the C Spire text line as possible. We're back right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I appreciate you being with me, being with us this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, on your Mississippi radio stations, your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations, a dozen of them across the state. All right, we gotta have a frank. Hold on a second. We did have someone that sent us a message that said Ms. Brown was off with regard to DeSoto County having multiple superintendents. He said, you've got to correct that statement. I did double check during the break. There is one superintendent for the DeSoto County school system. That's Corey Usselton, if I mispronounced that. There are 4 assistant superintendents and a chief operations officer within the district. But there is only one superintendent for the DeSoto County schools. And when you talk DeSoto County schools, you're talking about DeSoto Central, Center Hill, Hernando, Horn Lake, Lake Cormorant, Lewisburg, Olive Branch, South Haven. It is a massive school district. Massive school district. So just wanted to get that out there. All right, couple of things I want to say, like big picture stuff. First of all, how we are going to, Lance, I say we, I probably should say me. I don't want to paint you into this. I don't want to drag you along kicking and screaming if this isn't the way you want to go about this, but this is the way I'm going to go about this. We know, you know, I know, that we're about to spend a lot of time for the remainder of this year and for much of the legislative session going forward talking about school choice or educational freedom, whichever way you want to describe it. What you are not going to hear from me, at least not at this point, is me endorsing one side or the other. Because the truth of the matter is, this is one of those issues that it seems like, I don't know, most people are in one camp or the other. They are either for universal school choice or they are for no school choice without a lot of gray area. I don't think that's a good way to explore this. Because there is a lot of gray, and there are a lot of questions that I need answers. I need answers to what this would look like, how it would be implemented, how it would be funded, where the money would go. Are you looping consolidation into the conversation? Before I'm on board, I'm like, yeah, this is what I am for. And if you are locked into your beliefs on one side or the other, I'd love for you to just come along on this journey with us. Because I'm going to ask a lot of questions of a lot of people. The next time the Speaker of the House, Jason White, is on, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to try and dig into some of the questions. And I know Speaker White has got answers to the questions that I've got, but I want to hear those, and I want to understand. I know the governor is pro-school choice. I thought it was really, really fascinating. And I'm paraphrasing this from the last conversation that Tate Reeves and I had on the radio, and I thought he was fantastic that day. I've had a chance to interview Tate Reeves a number of times. This was, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were in studio together in Jackson, and I thought the governor was more open and more transparent and more at ease than he has ever been in any conversation that I've ever had with him. And I understand that the governor is for this, but I thought it was interesting when I asked him if, short of full universal choice, he would support partial school choice, partial educational freedom. So if we're talking about, kids with the ability to move district to district, but not necessarily able to move public to private where the money follows them, if that's something that he could get on board with. And his answer, I thought, was telling, and I thought it was, I thought it was a really mature answer. And it was one that I think he's used in a lot of areas where he said he never wants to get in the way. And again, I'm paraphrasing. He never wants to stand in the way of good legislation in the name of seeking perfect legislation. Like, the bill might not be perfect. Make it any bill you want to. But if it's good, are you going to say, nope, not going to sign that because it's not perfect? So it's a fascinating thing. Some of you are coming after me. Richard, you're against school choice. No, I'm not. Richard, you're pro-school choice. No, I'm not. I'll tell you what I am. I am in the mode of asking questions because there are a lot of questions that need answers before we just willy-nilly say, universal school choice, everybody get it. There are a lot of really, really smart people on both sides of this issue, and we need to hear all of those perspectives.
You get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I try to call you, but on the midnight watch I realize why twice you ran away. Think about how many times I have fallen. Spirits are using me, larger voices calling. Whatever brought you and me cannot be forgotten.
Love this song. Well done, Lance Tolbert.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, looking. Great to be with you this morning. Thank you for the engagement on the C Spire text line 601-879-4395. I promised that I was going to try to work through some of your messages. I am going to try to work through some of your messages. There is no way I will get to all of them. I promise. Yeah. You are passionate about the school choice conversation, about the education freedom conversation. Please know this is not a one-off. Please know that.
I think it's such a deep issue
Ooh, brother.
We get so muddled with the education, the child and all that. We get into that. And I totally understand all sides of this argument. And it's such a deep argument with a lot of intelligent people chiming in today and legislators and leaders. It's just not an easy solution. It just isn't.
To me, the only, how do I want to say this? Maybe I just won't. I'm not sure I'm going to phrase that the way I want it to come out. I do think you're myopic if you look at this only through the lens of your situation. Here's the thing, Lance. So we have hundreds of thousands of children in schools, not public or private, in schools in Mississippi. And so you have to make decisions for literally hundreds of thousands of children and families and school districts and teachers. And you have to make decisions that you think are best overall for children in school, but you're dealing with an issue that is extremely personal. And so the overwhelming number of parents of all of those school children, regardless of where they go to school, the overwhelming number of parents want what is best for their child. And so it's an individual issue and it's a personal issue, and yet from a decision-making standpoint and from a legislative standpoint and from an administrative standpoint, you have to make decisions for the whole. You can't make decisions just for an individual, and that is such a complicating factor. One thing I'll throw out about this, Andy has pushed back a lot, and that's fine, and I appreciate, and again, Andy is coming from a personal perspective, an individual perspective, the issue that he has had with his children, and it influences what he believes about what the best system is for educating our children. But he brought up economic impact on a community. And I don't even know that, economic impact is in part of the conversation. But there's a chicken or the egg conversation that goes along with thriving communities and public schools that are excelling. Which came first? Right? Was it public schools that were excelling that caused a community to be able to grow and to thrive and new people to move in and look for opportunities? Or is it a thriving community with a tax base that gives the ability to adequately fund public education that allows the schools in that district to excel?
Well, it's like a gumbo, right? You got to have all the right ingredients for the gumbo to come out right.
You absolutely do. Tupelo, I don't have these numbers in front of me, so forgive me if I'm off by a percentage point or 5. Tupelo just had a bond, a referendum for a project within the district. I don't know if it was for a new school or what. City of Tupelo passed it with over 90%. Tupelo is one of the best school districts in the state. It's a massive school district, biggest high school in the state of Mississippi. But the city of Tupelo supports the heck out of the Tupelo School District. I live in Oxford. 2 outstanding public schools and a really good growing private school in Oxford. All are thriving. But you know what? I live in a community that has placed a massive amount of emphasis on public school excellence. The city of Oxford has never not passed a bond issue for the school district. In fact, it has never not passed a bond issue with at least 70%. I don't know if I made that sentence well. Any bond issue that has ever been brought up for the city of Oxford, for the Oxford School District, has passed with at least 70% in favor of whatever that bond issue is. The Lafayette County School District in recent years has passed successful bond issues to continue to grow their school. And so if you look at thriving communities / cities / municipalities across the state of Mississippi, in every one of those communities, you will find school districts that are excelling. And almost universally, if you find school districts that are excelling, you will find communities that are supporting public education. There absolutely is a role for private schools in Mississippi. I think it's a vastly different role than perhaps it was a few decades ago. I mean, there was a time, no question about it, that private schools were a way to create segregation after the civil rights movement when schools were desegregated. There's no question about that. It's just like definitively true. And some of those schools are still in existence today. And some of them are thriving.
I'm
Hopefully
glad
most of those, the attitude for why the school was originally built has changed over the course of time. But you also have private schools that are teaching in different ways than public schools are teaching. Whether it's a classical model or smaller class sizes or whatever. And there are parents who think that is what is best for their student, their child. And so that has been the right option for them.
And I want to chime in and say two things. First, I don't have a problem with the private school receiving the public school dollars if that child is accepted and wants to go there. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I know that would help a lot of folks out. Private school tuitions are not cheap, obviously. Yep. And two, you're not going to cover it with the money that you get as far as the vouchers. I'm okay with that. The other thing, and I want to say this quickly, Paul and Hernando, it's amazing how these other states have done it around us. Yeah, and they also did school district consolidation first, significantly years before. And I'm not saying that would work here or it will work here or won't. I'm just saying, yes, there's steps that were taken to get it to that point. And I don't want us to, miss steps or not feel that those were important for the success of these other states and how they implemented school choice. Looking at the whole argument, not pieces of it.
Yeah. Well, okay, you brought up something that's interesting, and this is a question that goes along with, and I mean, I've heard people answer this question and go, there's nothing you can do about it. Do you know what is going to happen with almost 100% certainty if you allow public dollars to follow a public school student transferring to a private school? Almost with certainty, the tuition for that private school will go up commensurate with the amount of money they're receiving with the state.
Most likely.
So if you are currently paying $10,000 a year for one of your children to go to a private school, and the legislature decides, hey, we're going to allow $6,000 to follow a student from public school to private school, you can go ahead and count on the fact that that tuition is going to go up to $16,000 or in the neighborhood of.
Well, it could. I mean, there may not be room either, because a lot of what you stated is there is a classroom size that they like to keep a certain level. So, it will be interesting to watch if that is some route they go.
I mean, mark it down. And there are people that have been asked, hey, is there anything you can do to combat rising tuition cost in private school commensurate with the amount of money that the state would send for a student to that private school? And the answer that you get is, no, there's nothing you can really do about that. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. We're back right after this.
From the Venable Glass Track.
Mississippi in the know. One morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
C Spire text line open to you, 601-879-4395. How do we find out where our representatives and senators for our districts stand on and voted on school choice? Well, there are lots of ways you can do that. You can do a deep dive on the internet where you pull up voting records and all of those things, or you can listen to Mornings with Richard Cross right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and we are going to do our best to let you know everything that is happening.
Well, I want to say one other thing too. I mean, I love the fact that we like to compare ourselves to other states, but maybe, just maybe, with the brain power we have here in Mississippi, we could do our own thing. I love that we compare ourselves to peers. That's great, but do you have to do everything your peers do just because it was working over there? I mean, I'm not saying that it won't work here, but I would love to see a very detailed debate on this across the floor, and as we continue to have here on a daily basis.
Yeah.
We have smart people out here listening and commenting.
A lot of you. A lot of research.
One great idea,
thoughts.
tax breaks, you could have, not saying anything will work. I don't know. I'm not the one there negotiating it, but I can say there are other solutions potentially that we may not have thought about. And I hope that we explore those before any.
And look, I feel like this should go without saying, but it absolutely does not go without saying. If you allow the money tied to students to flow from public to private, then private schools will have to be judged and overseen in the same way that public schools are. You cannot allow money to flow without oversight.
That was where I was going to go with it. If you do allow the voucher system, how do you go about allowing a voucher system like that? And then moving over to a private school.
That gets into this
public dollars going to private businesses.
Well, yeah, but not just that, but it gets into the entire philosophy that there are parents who say, I don't like the learning style or the teaching style that is primarily used in the public school system. I believe in a different way of teaching, a different way of learning, and so I am going to send my child to this school for that reason. Well, that school may not have the same testing standards. They may not evaluate student progress and student success in the exact same way that it is evaluated in public schools, but there has to be accountability for money that is spent, and so what do you do there?
Well, another thing, too.
Again, the list of questions that need answers, to borrow a phrase from Top Gun, is long and distinguished.
I like it. A little pop culture in the middle of a debate.
Hey, speaking of, this is a complete switch of gears, but we have to do this morning. You got the announcement yesterday that Scott Colomb is running for United States Senate against Cindy Hyde-Smith. And we mentioned yesterday that, at least in part, his candidacy for district attorney was funded through George Soros' organization. All right. So Scott drops a video on X last night. And I'm going to let you listen to it. But I want to give you a quick synopsis of what you are listening to. Scott Colomb is purportedly calling Cindy Hyde-Smith at night from his phone to wish her a good night. But it is clearly not Cindy Hyde-Smith on the other end of the line, and it is also really, really cringe.
Yeah.
Is this race over before it begins?
All right, everybody, I just announced that I'm running for United States Senate against Cindy Hyde-Smith. This is not personal. I'm going to call her and wish her good night. Let's see if she answers.
Hello?
Hey, Senator Hyde-Smith. I can't believe she asked. This is Scott Cologne. I'm just calling to wish you good night.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm running against you for United States Senate, and it may seem personal, but it's actually not personal. You know, as a Christian, I forgive you for blocking my nomination. The problem is, as a Mississippian, you keep voting against our interests. Like you're voting to put our health care at risk, our hospitals at risk, just so millionaires and billionaires in New York and California can get a tax break. I don't think that's right, Senator. So, but listen, I guess that's how you view it. I still want you to have a good night's sleep. Is that okay?
You're calling to tell me good night?
Yeah, that's the type of Christian I am, Senator Hyde-Smith. Like I keep telling you, it's not personal. You just need to learn how to put Mississippi first. And, you know, when I'm senator, you can kind of watch my example of how to put our state first. And vote.
You're a senator.
Yeah, I'm running to replace you because we need a senator that's going to put us first, not D.C. politics. I just think you care a little bit too much about, like, Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell and those type of people. You need to care more about the people of Mississippi. But I still want you to have a good night's sleep. So thank you for answering the call. I appreciate it.
All right. Unsolicited advice. Scott, I don't know if you're listening this morning or not. Scott Cologne, District Attorney in the Golden Triangle area. If you are listening, this advice is what you are paying for it, which is nothing. If you have a campaign advisor who told you that that was a good idea, then you need to pick up the phone that you purportedly called Cindy Hyde-Smith on and call them right now and fire them. Scott, if that was your idea, then you need to pick up that phone and call somebody and hire them to help you with messaging and running your campaign. What in the world was that?
That was, I've never heard of anything like that. That was out there in left field for me, buddy. That's the first.
I can only think of one thing creepier than that in politics. And it involves a nursing home, but we might not should go there.
Oh, goodness. I thought you were going to, never mind. But, yeah, that was a crazy one.
I'm telling you, Scott, if that was your idea, use that exact same phone and call somebody that you trust and ask them to refer to you a Democratic operative who will help you make better decisions in running your campaign.
I think James
if that idea was someone who you have decided needs to run your campaign, then fire them today because you are wasting your time, your money, your energy, time away from your family as you embark on this race. And it's over before it begins. If somebody advised you to do that and you are trusting them to run your campaign for United States Senate, this campaign is already over and it's a complete waste of time.
Yeah, you go hire James Carville. I think he needs a job.
Could Cindy Hyde-Smith sue him for this? If I were Cindy Hyde-Smith, I'd send him a bouquet of flowers for doing this.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a gift. Goodness.
Whew.
I'm glad you saw it that way. That was the weirdest thing I think I've ever heard in politics.
Chris in Oxford says that's what you call reaching. Doesn't have a prayer, and he's just doing stupid crap. Rich in Biloxi says sounds like he just committed a felony wiretapping.
There is, in the world we live in today, it's sometimes very smart not to, put yourself out there like that. I mean, honestly, I know it's an individual world and everybody likes to say, look at me, I'm so awesome. You don't want to do that stuff, though, It's kind of like Herb DeWeese used to say when I worked for Ole Miss, don't do anything that's going to get you on the front page of the paper.
I was texting with a friend last night. He said, whether it's real or not, that he even thought this was a good idea to, quote-unquote, share tells so much about his lack of judgment. He went on to say it's shockingly immature, unserious. I said, not that she was losing any sleep over him, but if she was, she's not anymore, talking about Cindy Hyde-Smith. Philip in Walthall County says that is the definition of cringeworthy. Thomas in Greenwood, how is he a district attorney?
He won, yeah.
Somebody says, I don't know why y'all are even talking about it.
Really?
What do you mean you don't know why we're talking about it? We are a news and politics show in the state of Mississippi, and this man declared himself as a candidate for United States Senate yesterday? And he releases that last night?
They had to be kidding.
And you think we should not talk about it?
That had to be a joke. Come on.
Hey. Katherine Pannel joins us next.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I went to the doctor to check out what's matter.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being part of the conversation. Time to welcome our next guest. Dr. Katherine Pannel joins us right now. She's a DO, medical director at Right Track Medical Group, and is legislative chairwoman for the Mississippi Psychiatric Association. Dr. Pannel, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Always a pleasure to visit. I feel like the topics are always heavy when we talk, though. We're talking about some tough stuff. This week in particular is Overdose Prevention Week. And we know that is a very, very serious issue that unfortunately is far too common, and it's far too common in a lot of cases with young people.
Yeah, you're right. And I do. Sometimes I come on here with a lot of gloom and doom, but we actually have some good news, even though it is Overdose Prevention and Awareness Week. Mississippi is doing a good job in preventing overdoses. You know, we saw the peak of the overdose deaths in Mississippi in 2021 during and after the pandemic, but since that time, we've seen about a 34% decrease in overdose deaths in Mississippi. So not all bad news today.
Yeah, that certainly is outstanding progress, but a long way to go.
Right. We're still in crisis mode.
Yeah. In terms of overdose deaths, do you have any idea what the numbers are for overdoses that are bad pills versus people who are taking prescription medications and are abusing them?
I don't have the exact numbers, but I will say that back when opioids were first produced, it used to be overdose on prescriptions that were the prevailing cause of the overdose deaths. They were, getting too many pills from the prescriber. They were doctor shopping. But now it is more prevalent to see overdose deaths of those pills that are being made and are synthetic, or that they're pills that are laced with other things that are causing the overdose deaths. So it's not, we've got control over the overprescribing of opioids now. It's more the illicit, off the streets opioids, the synthetic opioids.
Are college campuses the biggest place, or is that just a kind of a target-rich environment and it's happening in lots of other places as well?
There are definitely hot spots all over Mississippi, certain counties more than others. But yes, college campuses, especially for our young college towns with college campuses, are especially the hot spots for our younger adults.
What about, we've talked with law enforcement officials, from DPS down to local officials, and we have heard about more seizures, more confiscations, more busts that are happening. But we also know that it only takes a very, very small amount of methamphetamine being laced into drugs that people think they're taking. Are the seizures and the busts having an effect yet?
Yeah, of course. Getting the supply off the streets is always a major force in reducing overdose deaths. But I think the major emphasis has to be on reducing the demand. And that's where we come in with, decreasing conversations or the stigma around conversations about opioid use and pill use, teaching our kids early on about coping skills, teaching our kids early on that unless the medication is prescribed to you, it's not safe to take. Because you're right, it doesn't take much of a pill being laced with a tiny substance like fentanyl, and one time can kill you.
One of the things that we've seen a growth in is the availability of life-saving stuff. Narcan at the top of the list in terms of availability. How important is that in this process? Because there's some that are like, it's an altogether different conversation, but there's some that would compare it to condom usage to eliminate teen pregnancy. And
Sure.
there's a better way to eliminate teen pregnancy than just prophylactics. But this is different than that also. So kind of walk me down that road.
Sure, it is. And it's a huge misconception that somehow things like fentanyl testing strips and naloxone enable addiction. Mississippi, especially the Mississippi Health Department, is doing an amazing job about getting naloxone in hands, and that's huge. While we do all the other prevention things like education, naloxone and the testing strips are what are saving lives. They've given out, I think, over 30,000 naloxone kits in the past few years. This is just buying us time because everybody has a chance at recovery, but you can't recover if you're dead. So this is simply, it's not enabling somebody to use a pill or to get a pill off the street. It's basically keeping them alive so that we can get them the resources to get them better. Also, with our impulsive, youth whose brains are not fully developed, they may have just a dumb moment where they go take a pill from a friend because they feel like they need an Adderall to study for the night and don't realize their friend got the street and it's laced with fentanyl. Yeah. So it gives them another opportunity to live life and become a fruitful adult. Now, naloxone just buys us time.
And hopefully get to a place where they're making better decisions moving down the road.
Absolutely.
In terms of where Narcan's available, are law enforcement officers carrying this? Is it readily available to them in the event of responding to a situation where it's needed immedately?
Yes, they are armed with it. They are trained in it. But anybody can get Narcan, and I encourage anybody. You don't have to be the healthcare industry. If you have a family member suffering with substance, either opioid use, you can go to the Mississippi Health Department website. They will send you a free kit, absolutely free. It's confidential. Nobody will have your information. You're not going to get spam called or anything after that, but they'll literally mail it to you, and you can have a kit to keep on hand.
September also is Suicide Prevention Month. You can question my sanity, but I was watching a board meeting online for the Oxford Board of Aldermen, and they had a resolution declaring Suicide Prevention Month and awareness in Oxford. I know there are other communities that have done that as well. Catherine, I feel like the conversation has changed so dramatically when it comes to suicide, and I know it's something that you continue to beat the drum about, something we've talked about in the past, and that's the stigma at least being lessened, people being willing to talk about issues in a more public way than they have, and maybe let you take it from there in terms of what we're focusing on, particularly in this month of September.
Well, it's September, yes. It's the Overdose Awareness Month, where we just want to continue to decrease stigma and support those that are trying to go through the recovery or maintain recovery. It's also a great month for suicide prevention. And this month is really all about having that conversation so that we do continue to reduce stigma. The stigma is falling. It's fallen tremendously since COVID. Our younger generation is talking about it. We need to continue the conversations and normalize the conversation just as we would any other medical illness, and encourage our youth to talk. Just continue to have those conversations and really learn early on about healthy coping skills and how to manage stress. And that there's nothing so grave that you have to end your life for, that to continue to just talk about it, support others.
I know sometimes we interchange psychologists and psychiatrists, and obviously there's a different, but colloquially just called shrinks through the years. And I've noticed that there is an openness and a willingness with people saying, "Oh yeah, I went to see my shrink or went to see my doctor, my person." Mm-hmm. Have you seen an uptick in willingness for people to go to a therapist, whether it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist, that maybe didn't exist in the past?
Absolutely. And that again, is just from having those conversations. I used to have patients that I'd have to sneak in the back door of my office because they were too scared to be seen going to a psychiatrist's office. But the more people that do go to those psychiatric offices and have those conversations and normalize it, the more people are willing to seek treatment. I tell everybody that everybody needs to be in therapy. Therapy is not there. I mean, it is there for when you're in a crisis, but you want to do therapy to learn the skills so that you can handle a crisis when it comes up, an unexpected crisis. So I think therapy is great for everyone. I think more people are willing to do it, and I think it's life-changing.
There are lots of people that have never been to a therapist for any reason. Can you take us inside that office and kind of describe what those obviously not divulging anything, but what those conversations are like, what those meetings are like? And I guess there are, as you just said, two different sides to it, right? There's crisis situation, and then there's like preventative and wellness type conversations as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, therapy is incredibly cathartic. I mean, that is like it's usually an hour long, and that is your time. That is when you go and you can talk about the things that are on your mind, the things that are bothering you. You go is without shame, it's without judgment, and it's completely confidential. So you can tell them the things that are bothering you, not have to worry about repercussions or judgment. That is your time. It's self-care. And it prevents crisis. I mean, it is there, like I said, to help you through it, but it's there more to prevent it so that when something unexpected does come up in your life, you can handle it.
From the therapy professional standpoint, how much of those sessions is listening versus guiding and talking?
I personally love, because I'm much more of a listener, but as far as people that are there to get help, they are the ones that are there, like I said, it's cathartic, to let it all out. And then the therapist is there to guide them and help them through whatever they're there for.
September is an important month, Overdose Prevention Week, Suicide Prevention Month in September. Dr. Katherine Pannel, always appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're going to wrap things up on this busy Thursday morning when we get back with you right after this.
Can't drown.
From the Venable Glass.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
If you're down and out and you feel real hurt, come on over.
Good to be with you one last time on this Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us alongside Lance Talbert. I'm Richard Cross. We have covered some ground this morning. I think we've had fun.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of interaction with you. Really, really appreciate that. There was a funny moment in a press conference yesterday with the President of the United States, Donald Trump. He was doing a briefing in the White House briefing room, and this question came up.
Brian, go ahead. The question is this. You're building the big, beautiful ballroom. Yeah. Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room, updated technology, more seats?
I don't want to do that. I don't want you to be comfortable.
Laugh moment with the White House press corps.
It's funny how you can play both sides of that.
Yeah.
He's good at getting on them and also a little humor.
There was a much more serious moment for the president yesterday, talking about National Guard troops going to cities. We know that California pushed back, but we also know that the violence that was happening in California stopped almost immediately. We know that Washington, D.C. publicly pushed back, only to ultimately have an about-face from Mayor Muriel Bowser thanking the Trump administration for a significant reduction in crime. What's next in terms of the National Guard and cities that need help?
Washington, D.C. is a totally safe city. You're not reporting any crime because there is none. They said crime is down 87%, and I said, no, it's not. It's down 100%. We have a great thing going. I could do that with Chicago. We could do that with New York. We could do it with Los Angeles. So we're making a determination now. Do we go to Chicago, or do we go to a place like New Orleans, where we have a great governor, Jeff Landry, who wants us to come in and straighten out a very nice section of this country that's become quite tough, quite bad. So we're going to be going to maybe Louisiana, and you have New Orleans, which has a crime problem. We'll straighten that out in about 2 weeks. It'll take us 2 weeks, easier than D.C. But we could straighten out Chicago. All they have to do is ask us to go into Chicago if we don't have the support of some of these politicians. But I'll tell you who is supporting us, the people of Chicago. And I sort of want them to let it be known they have incompetent people. Washington.
So an interesting twist on this whole National Guard thing. We know that you've got Democrat mayors in these cities, but in California, in Illinois, and New York, you have Democrat governors as well. Different deal in Louisiana, a Republican governor with a Democrat mayor. We know there's a significant crime issue in New Orleans, and you have Jeff Landry reaching out to the White House and say, hey, how about you give us some help in New Orleans?
I got an idea for Chicago. I mean, Trump's such a great negotiator. The art of the deal, he ought to get Joey Chestnut and Pritzker, have a hot dog eating contest. Whoever wins, so if Trump's supporting Chestnut, then he gets to go into Chicago and clean it up. If Pritzker wins, you stay out. I wonder, I bet Joey could still put him down, even though Pritzker's as big as a whale.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut's a pretty unique talent.
Yeah,
that's a specific skill set.
Yep.
We did not get into the Epstein files conversation this morning. It was far more local than that national story, but you had a lot of news related to that yesterday. NBC News had a sit down with a group of Epstein survivors, people who had been negatively affected, and it kind of felt like NBC was looking for a gotcha moment with this question, and they didn't get it.
I do have to ask, and I know, and it's just something that I think we're compelled to at this moment, with the attention on President Trump, with these questions around a pardon. Did anybody see or hear of the president himself doing anything inappropriate as it related to Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
They cut the clip off pretty quickly. You had 9 Epstein victims, survivors as they are calling them. I think victims probably would be the right term, but survivor is fine also. 9 of them in that NBC News interview setting. And the responses were no. The president was never involved. Don't know if that's the answer that NBC was expecting or the answer that NBC was hoping for, but it's the one that they got. And then finally, if you haven't seen it, there is significant pushback. 1,000 Health and Human Services employees have signed a letter demanding the resignation of RFK Jr. as head of HHS. Charlie Kirk writes, if 1,000 employees who helped lock down America, close schools, mandate COVID shots, masks, and social distancing want RFK fired, it should be a badge of honor. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning on Mornings with Richard Cross. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.